Hey everybody, welcome to another tutorial on StableGen.io. Today we are going to go over creating stages and generating the image assets for the stage. So stages, this process is actually quite similar to the previous tutorial on characters. So a stage is basically the background for your frames that you're going to be creating for your AI videos, your first or last frames. They will be used by our frame generation pipeline, and they will take the characters and composite them onto the stage images. So this is where we're creating the stages. So today I'm going to create this hospital exam room. This is something that was a stage that's created by the script generation pipeline, and we'll go over the script generation in another video. But basically, the flow usually, I think, depending on how you want to use this, but normally I think is you go from creating a script, which then sort of spits out all your descriptions of your stages. It identifies all the characters, gives descriptions of them. And, you may already have your ideas, and you may actually even put them into the script pipeline. But when it's generating new scenes and, new stages like this, it is kind of a nice place to start. And then you can see I actually already did this in Google Whisk, but I prefer... or I like to use Google Whisk a lot. It's, it's fast, it's easy, does a pretty good job here creating the consistent sort of image here. And anyway, it's free, and you can iterate on this, you can refine, this image or whatever. So I am using a image from Google Whisk. So I'm starting off with that image as my base image, and giving it this description, and then creating the stage, and there you go. So now this is our new base image. And then we get on to the generate asset. Oh, and also real quick, you can add up to 3 base images here. So, or source images, you call them. So you can add more if you'd like. Something that I didn't go over before, but this same description is created for your characters. So once you add a source image, or change the source images, so if you add another source image or delete an existing one, there is this auto-generated description that happens. And the idea is we're feeding this into another AI, and it's basically looking through all the images that you give, and it's basically coming up with a kind of like single description of, in this case, the stage, the set that you're on. Maybe there's different camera angles in your source images. Maybe the lighting's a little bit different in them. Whatever it is, it's basically trying to just, suss out the details that are, last through all these different, images that really describe what the room is like, in this case. And the same thing with characters. And with characters is also going to be helpful, that way if you have characters that maybe you have different source images where they're wearing different clothing, then it's more describing, this auto-generated description will be more describing the character themselves, and not a specific piece of clothing. Now, a lot of times with stuff like anime, cartoons, often characters are just in the same outfit the entire time. So that would become part of it. And so that's essentially how that pipeline works. It looks at each image, and it's like, if every image, in this case, this same, information was on the computer screen, then maybe it will describe that, but let's say there was 2 different source images, and then the next one, it had like a completely different image on the computer screen, then it will not describe it, because it's not looking at that as, you know, a lasting part of this room. It's not like a defining characteristic. All right, so from there, then you need to generate assets, and like I said, when you're compositing together your frames, it's not going to pull in these source images. You're actually going to want to create, you know, image assets for it. So one of the big things is, and this allows you, you know, to take pictures. You know, let's say you want to do an anime, you know, I don't know, and there's some picture of a coffee shop or maybe the outside of a store or a street corner, you know, whatever it is, a building, and you really like it. You can sort of bring in just that image, and then, you know, pick an art style change. So you can switch it here, and we can go on and I'm only going to change the art style right now. So, you know, weather doesn't really mean much when you're inside, or here we go. And actually in this case, you know, it's like windows shut, everything's shut, time of day. So, you know, you got to use these where it makes sense. When you have an outside image, then things will, you know, make more sense. Let's try something else too. So I was thinking, what if you wanted to turn this doctor office in a little bit, you know, more kind of creepy look? You know, maybe go to the film noir and change the lighting. So, so this is not released in production yet, but we're getting close to having, you know, subscriptions and everything and getting out of the private beta. So I can even talk a little bit here then about the models, the different models, and you'll see there's a big difference in costs. So I really found Seed Dream, and this is why we put it as a recommended here. It does a really good job with the art style transfer type of generation. So I think it's great, you know, a great choice, and it's pretty low cost. You can even try out Seed Dream 4. You're at 3 tokens. Now your this is original Nano Banana. It's coming in around 4 tokens. Now, if you notice, the resolution goes away because Nano Banana just has a single resolution. I think it's like a 1K image. And then you can go to, you know, what most people consider to be kind of the top end model right now is Nano Banana Pro, and for 2K, you're triple the price, and 4K, you know, 5 times the price. Now these prices may change. Actually, it turns out calculating these costs and everything was pretty complicated. But I would say like the relative comparison to the token cost is probably going to be pretty similar. So, you know, Seed Dream 4.5 is pretty great. And, you know, you get 4 tokens there. So there you go. We did 2K. Geez, even if you want, why don't we, just for fun here, film noir, what do we do? Art, cool, and we did eerie. Let's see what the Nano Banana Pro does. All right. So here you go. Here's an example of transferring it into the Studio Ghibli style. You know, so that's pretty cool. Looks great. And just like the generated assets for characters, you have you know, all your sort of details here. So if you generate an image and you kind of forget, you know, what it was, you should pretty much have everything here. You can see like what options you picked, your model, aspect ratio, resolution, you know, all that stuff. And if we go back here, we've got our 2. Let's see. So this one was Nano Banana Pro. Pretty creepy. And this is what Seed Dream 4.5 did. You really see, I mean, like, really different. And, you know, I think at this point, it's like pretty subjective. You know, Seed Dream sort of gave you this dirty kind of moldy look to the ceiling, but kept this area like pretty clean and just sort of more did the film noir thing. And the lighting, I guess, is like cold and hard. This was black and white here. The eeriness here, actually, I wonder if they changed the ceilings. The eeriness here is they added a sort of grain to everything, and I mean, that's kind of creepy, just the like white screen. Anyway, so, you know, then Seedream just turned off the monitor there. Anyway, so you can work with that. See what ones you like. But remember, this is, you know, 3 times. Oh, and one other thing with another weird thing with Seedream is its cost doesn't seem to really change with resolution. You know, where obviously, you know, Nano Banana Pro really does. So there's that. Okay, so that, I mean, that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. Like I said, it's pretty similar interface, almost identical, I guess, to the generator for characters. And then the next, I'll just give you a little sneak peek, but the next tutorial we're going to go into the editor here, and I may just do like one single long video, or maybe I'll break it into prompt editing and painting the camera movement. So this camera movement is really cool. This is something that's, I would say, it's like pretty experimental right now, but it's pretty difficult. Like if you've ever, you know, had an image like this, like, okay, this is this background for the scene here, right? Here's our stage, and, you know, let's say you have, you know, the 2 characters talking, and you want to like orbit the camera around to the other side of the room and look now back at us, for example. That turns out to be really difficult for Nano Banana. I would say like almost impossible to get it to work, or to any really, you know, Seedream 4.5. None of them do it. So I've been working a while on this pipeline where I take it through a bunch of different steps. I use different models that actually do have better 3D like understanding when they're looking at images, and so I take them and I sort of use them in conjunction. But, you know, ultimately I'm still spitting out the images with Nano Banana because I need it to copy the style really well, and nothing's going to do a better job. Well, maybe Seedream 4.5. I actually never really tested it with that, so I will give that a spin at some point, because it would make it cheaper. So you can see right now, you know, you get up to 4K, and this camera movement, you know, just to do that rotation is it's going to cost, you know, almost 50 tokens, and it's not like 100%. Like you're going to find these like generated image assets with these more simple, you know, the simple changes that oh, I don't even have characters in here yet. But, you know, the more simple changes that you're doing here, you're going to have a hit rate, you know, pretty high. But when you get into the editor, prompt editing, again, you know, you're basically this is just like straight using Nano Banana or Seedream. So, you know, the normal, your expectation here, but the camera movement pipeline is it's great. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't know. So you'll imagine like video does this, right? You know, imagine if you said, oh, like move the camera this way. The video will kind of do it and keep track of everything, but the video models are trained on 3D data, where the images, you know, image models aren't. And so when you really need to create these images for your first and last frames, you kind of have to get a model to do it, because again, it's the consistency thing. The video will do it and it'll be solid, but it'll do it different every single time. Whereas you can lock it in when you get a good camera movement, you know, image, and then use that in your frame generation. Now you're controlling the consistency again. But anyway, so we'll go into detail here. You know, we also have this in-painting API. So yeah, that'll be next time. And today was creating stages and generating image assets for them. I'll see you in the next tutorial.